you guys know it's just a classic miscommunication on a switch. One guy thought that a guy was going to switch. The other guy wanted to stay home with LeBron, and luckily, unluckily, he was able to get open and get that open 3-pointer. I thought Nikola, made a great read, seeing he was so open to even get out there to contest the shot as good as he did.
I'm Corey Baldwin.
And I'm Dan Searle, and we're back with a new and very special Off the Beaten Path podcast. This is a podcast for basketball coaches who are living in obscurity, working in obscurity, even those have made it out of obscurity and into a bubble.
And it's a place for storytelling, learning, connecting, and food for thought, and also a little food for the belly. We'll talk some good restaurants, I'm sure, at some point.
Good restaurants and hopefully some good food. But in today's episode, we go inside the NBA bubble in Orlando to meet John Beckett, assistant coach with the Denver Nuggets. We'll talk about the grind and the slow climb from ticket sales to assistant coach in the conference finals. And this is timely. This is happening right now. John, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us in what is a crunch time for you and the team, right?
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here, and we're down in the bubble. We just finished Game 3 last night versus the Lakers. Much needed win, and you caught me on a day that I feel really good in the morning because we got to win.
There you go. And let's jump right into it. Usually we go back and we hear about the path and how you got to where you are, but let's talk about that game last night. It was a must win. What kind of adjustments did you guys make? How did those come across on the court after that heartbreaking Game 2 loss?
We didn't make too many adjustments, like small adjustments like that. We made some tweaks in terms of our pick and roll coverages, which way we want to send the ball handler, and, on their ISOs, maybe having an extra defender in there. We call it a tilt. So we talked about stuff like that. But, with the Lakers, the main thing is they're a big time running team. They score a lot of their points in the paint. So, one of the things that we wanted to do was, just try to shrink the floor, make them see bodies, try to cover up those driving angles, just make it a little bit more difficult for them to get into the paint. And then also just control our turnovers. They're a big team, they run the break a lot. And a lot of their transition points is generated just through their turnovers. So main thing is we didn't want to fuel their break by having live ball turnovers and just being smart.
What's your role as the assistant coach? Are you more on the film side? Are you installing on the court all the time? Do you do a little bit of everything? What was your role as you went through these last 3 games against the Lakers? What do you do?
Well, my role, through the years since I've been here, it's evolved. During the playoffs, during this time, a lot of the stuff that I do has to do with personnel. Has to do, with guys, which way do they prefer to drive? Do they have any tendencies in terms of, maybe on post-ups, what shoulder do they like to shoot over? Are they going to be a runoff or a chase? And for us, a runoff or a chase is, a runoff is a guy that's, a big-time three-point shooter. A chase, we're talking about, on, dribble handoffs or any screening actions. If he's a shooter, are we going to chase over the top, or are we going to gap it? So a lot of times, for me, playoffs, a lot of the stuff that I do has to do with the personnel.
I like it. What? Let me ask you this. It has to be weird. I know we're going to talk about the bubble some, but playing a team that you're in the same area with, that happens at no other level. It's like an AAU tournament or like a camp setting. You feel like you're at Rick Ball's camp or something about to play some guys or what?
It's awkward because, like last night, we played the Lakers and it was an intense game. They made a great run in the fourth quarter. And throughout the game, there's trash talk. There's a good amount of trash talk going on between both teams. And then right after the game, their bus pulls up maybe a minute before ours. So we're both getting off the bus. We both have to scan these magic bands to get into the hotel. And then we're all riding the same elevator up. This morning, we get tested daily. I go in for my test and, I see some of the Lakers staff in there. For example, I went to the gym. We had shoot around yesterday. Right after shoot around, I went to the gym to go get, my own workout in. In there, I see Kurt Rambis and a couple other their guys. And, we just have a normal conversation. But it's different from a normal playoff setting because, typically we won't see those guys except, when we're, competing against them, on the court. So this has definitely been, different for us because every team that we've played in the playoffs, they've been in the same hotel as us, Utah, the Clippers, and now the Lakers. So, we've kind of gotten used to it, and, it's normal now.
Yeah. That's crazy to me, man. I imagine there'll be some books and documentaries and everything when this is over, just because that alone is unreal. Like,
yeah. For sure, man, for sure. But the good thing is it was an opportunity, to meet, guys from other teams, other coaches that but you really never have a chance to develop a deeper relationship with because we're always on the go. Yeah. Now it's, we have this little trail that goes around the hotel that, pretty much all the coaches, all the staff members are either walking, they're running, or they're biking. So, randomly I'll be out there on the bike, and there'll be, Eric Spoelstra from Miami, he's walking. Brad Stevens will be out there. When the Clippers were around, I saw Tyronn Lue and Sam Cassell and a bunch of others of their staff. So it's just like, I've never been to a Final Four for the NCAA, but I'm assuming that's probably the same way, where it's just you're running into all the coaches, all over the place.
Except you're doing it while you're in heated competition.
Exactly. Exactly. That makes it a little different.
You're going to run one of these guys off the trail with your bike, run them into the pond.
Yeah. Surprisingly, like everything has been, the relationships and the conversations have been really good. I talk to other coaches that are, on our staff, and, they talk about who they ran into, and, they'll talk about previous games. They'll talk about, each team's players. So, it's definitely different because typically in a playoff setting, it's so competitive, and, you don't want to see the guy because you guys know you've been in a competitive environment. You really don't want to talk to him, but this environment forces you to talk to him.
That's great.
How about that? Let's talk about that bubble dynamic a little bit more for you. What have you done that's new? Who have you talked to? Do you have a story, or have you taken up pickleball, singles ping pong? What's one of those moments and stories you have from inside the bubble?
I don't really have, any, really good stories. Like, inside the bubble, it's just been spending a lot of time in the gym. We're allocated, I think, either 2 to 3 hours a day of like gym time. When there was 22 teams here, it was a little bit harder because sometimes the way that it's set up here in Disney, there's basketball courts just everywhere. So sometimes you would have to bus. Luckily the hotel that we're in, there is a few gyms with courts, here, so we can walk there. But with my downtime outside of basketball, it's just been a lot of working out, trying to stay in shape because there is a lot of food around and available. So if you don't work out, you don't take care of yourself, you are liable to pick up a few pounds. So like a lot of time I'm outside, like I talked about, we have the little road or trail right around the hotel. So I walk a lot, I bike a lot of running. And, that's what most coaches I've seen doing. I know at night we have staff that play card games. I haven't participated in any of the card games as of yet.
Good man.
Yeah. I haven't done, but we play regular games too. Guys have been playing board games. We've been playing Uno. We've been watching movies. We go out to dinner sometimes as a staff or as a team. So we've been trying a little bit of everything.
So it's got to be hard being distant from your family connections. You've got a little one now, but as you compare to the NBA life and the crazy travel, it must be kind of nice to be in one setting, to be at summer camp, right? Where you can hang out and do some of this stuff and relax and kick back within a professional job. I like it.
No, absolutely. And, I think the numbers that guys are putting up, I think it's aided by the situation that we're in right now. There's no travel. You're isolated in this bubble, so there's no nightlife. So right now you're kind of just only focused on basketball. So for a lot of our guys, not only do we have practice, but, you get gym time in the evening to go and shoot. And we have, a lot of our players take advantage of that. And I think it's shown by, a number of our players, the way that they've played, on the court during this run.
No
I
doubt
kind of
about it.
think of it. I kind of think of that nightlife's probably similar to JUCO nightlife. You know, we're always in these small towns, a lot of dominoes, a lot of card playing, and a lot of trash talking about the day's work, I'm sure.
There's Corey comparing the NBA bubble to JUCO life. I love it.
Well, I would say, me, playing 1 year of JUCO ball at Middle Georgia College, it is kind of similar. Middle Georgia was, in a small town, there wasn't much around, and you really couldn't do anything. Like, I remember for us, it was exciting just walking to the local Hardee's that was there. There wasn't really, much else, to do in that city, and it's the same thing here. Obviously, the NBA has done a great job, and just put everything in this bubble for guys, but you're still isolated just in one spot, and not being able just to maybe go to the local Walgreens to pick up shaving cream or a razor. It just makes you realize how much you miss in everyday life.
That's crazy, man. I can't even imagine it. What it's got to also be neat. I know we talked a little bit about seeing other guys, but just I guess walking out of your room and maybe seeing a card game with some guys you normally only see when you play them. And I mean, it's got to be kind of just weird, like, hey, that guy's down the hall from me. What's going on,
No, it's weird and it's different, but it has its advantages too. When we first came down, like I mentioned, previously, we have court time allocated to all the teams, during the evening. So during the evening, when we go back and shoot, we would be in the gym, and like there's 2 full courts next to each other. So you would get, a half a court within that. So we would be in there, working out with a guy, and then maybe right next to us would be Donovan Mitchell and Utah and their staff. They're working out. And then on the other end of that, there was Jason Tatum with the Celtics. They're over there. They're getting shots. You go to the next gym over, Kawhi Leonard and his staff. So just the opportunity to see the elite players all in one space, and just to even see what they're working at. Okay, what are they working on? What is their focus of their workout? And just going to the gym and seeing some of our young guys, like maybe a Michael Porter, seeing a Tatum and a Mitchell, who are already all-stars, and a Leonard, already all-stars, already, established players in the league, seeing them putting extra work. I think that goes a long way now when I'm talking to Mike and be like, all right, Mike, let's go get extra work. Now he sees those other guys doing it, and, I think it helps, and it helps our young players to grow.
Easy motivation right there. Now, as you observe these workouts with these elite players, what stands out? What have you seen, aside from them getting after it and putting in the time? What makes them so great?
I think, it's the same on every level. You guys are coaches. You guys been around the game, just as much as me. And, the thing that I've learned, just by watching these guys and having an opportunity to be around, elite players, is the attention to detail. There's no wasting of time working on stuff that they won't use in the game. Now, maybe it's different in the off season, when they have more time, they'll work on a skill that they're trying to develop. But just watching these guys work, just the attention to detail, just on the finishing, watching guys work on finishing for maybe 20, 25 minutes, doing a mic and drill, but it's not just, a regular mic and drill. When they're doing a mic and drill, they're sometimes using different angles of the glass, going short, going high, using different English, using, either hand, using both feet, either feet. So for me, watching them, it's the attention to detail is what really stood out.
How about that? And I'm so glad to hear about the mic and drill. That's my favorite thing at all age. And that the NBA are doing mic and drills. Perfect. I'm telling the 7th graders and the high schoolers that tomorrow, this afternoon.
Y'all do the 2-ball one? Do they do the 2-ball?
Some of our coaches do the 2-ball one. I haven't used the 2-ball one, but some of our coaches, they do use the 2-ball mic when they do the drills. But for our guys, we do a lot of mic and drills in terms of finishing. And then we'll spend 20, 30 minutes on finishing. Sometimes we'll use the gun to work on various layups, just because the shooting gun, because of that net, it forces guys now to go high off the glass, which is needed. As you guys know, there's a lot of long athletic players there. So you got to be able to know how to finish over those guys. So we'll get creative and try to do different things just to work on finishing. So, I can go to your guys' workouts and, I'll see something that I like and, I'll add it to our workout. And I think as coaches, that's what we all do. We steal from each other, see stuff we like and
share. Yep.
yeah. And even if we don't like the drill, maybe we'll tweak it to a way that we all like it. So, like I said, that's been, one of the really good things about being down here was the opportunity to see those guys work out, because sometimes they might not be doing anything special, but in your mind, seeing that, it lets you know that, okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Yep, validates that. Hey, we'll get more into player development, which has been one of your staples over your time in the NBA and G League, D League. But let's go back to the series. Let's go back to these games that you played last night and coming up here in another day. The one that blows up, obviously, is the end of game 2. And people keep saying this happened, that happened, and nobody really knows. What can you tell us about that play that AD ends up being open? What was the scheme, or was there, because there was no timeout?
Yeah, there was no timeout, and you hear in the media and you read on social media, people commenting about Mason Plumlee being there, but Mason was in there because they didn't have any timeouts, and we were only up 1 at the time. Mason's in there to protect against any lob threat at the rim. Anthony Davis is one of the more athletic bigs in the NBA. So putting Mason there was, to protect the rim in case it was a lob play to go to either maybe Davis or James. And then just on the situation, how Davis got so open, you guys know it's just a classic miscommunication on a switch. One guy thought that a guy was going to switch. The other guy wanted to stay home with LeBron. And, luckily, unluckily, he was able to get, open and get that open 3-pointer. I thought Nikola, made a great read, seeing he was so open to even get out there to contest the shot as good as he did. Yeah. But yeah, it was.
And he made it, right?
No, absolutely. And I was standing like right behind him, so I had like a good view of it. And as soon as it left his hand, I was like, "Oh, you just knew it was good."
That's a bad
and trust me, man, it hurt. There was a lot of long faces that evening and the next day, but to give our guys credit, man, we came back last night and we played hard, and we're fortunate to get that win last night.
Do you have a voice in the locker room? Is it just because they're professionals? How does that turn around to get that going, where you're down and the next day you got to be up?
I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Malone, the head coach. When we had our meetings, of course we were frustrated, we were disappointed, but his main thing was, we want to continue to stay positive. We want to continue to uplift our guys, because despite Anthony Davis making that last second shot, we felt like that was a game that we won and we played good enough to win. So from everything, that film session to the next day during shoot around, everything was positive. Even the film, the clips that that Coach Malone showed, it was clips of us, playing well and getting the lead and maintaining the lead. So, I can't take any of that credit. That was, Coach Malone, just keeping everybody positive.
2 things I was going to add that's been neat to watch. We were all Nugget fans last night because we knew if you lost, you may not do the
Yeah.
today. So we were Nugget Nation last night down here in South Georgia. But I've been watching you guys. You guys seem, down 3-1 twice and come back and win. You just seem so much like a college unit. Like you guys really get along. Really seem like they play for each other. It doesn't seem like a lot of bickering. Not to say all NBA teams do that, but a lot of them, they're so more. Just seems so more of a unit. And then the other thing I was going to add was on that blog. Fans always say don't let the main guy beat you. Y'all didn't let LeBron beat you. So I mean,
No.
technically, I thought, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he made a big shot. If it wasn't LeBron, I would have been all right with that.
No, absolutely. And like you mentioned, yeah, it wasn't LeBron. Obviously hindsight's 2020. You look at it, you wish, they were able to communicate it and, not giving Anthony Davis maybe that much separation and being open that much. And, maybe if we switched it perfectly and maybe he still made the shot, but I would have loved to have found out. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, I would have loved to have found out. And then in terms of our team, yeah, I agree with you. We do have a really close team. Obviously these are NBA guys, so you have to have an ego to make it on this level. But we don't have guys that have a excessive ego where they think it's about them. Um, and I can't pinpoint it why it's like that with our team. I think a lot of it has to do where we have a bunch of guys that weren't highly touted. Yes, Michael Porter and Bul Bul coming out of high school, those guys were big time recruits coming out. But Nikola Jokic coming from Serbia, he was the 41st pick, I believe, in the second round. Monte Morris was another guy that was late in the second round. Gary Harris was, I believe, 19. Jamal Murray was lottery, but he fell a little bit to number 7. So I just think we have a guys that that came up and they had to work for everything that they have, and they don't have that sense of entitlement. And I think that's what helps us in terms of the chemistry and why our guys are so close.
And then the coaching staff is kind of similar. Not, you know what I mean? You guys are all kind of off the beaten path guys that have made it.
Yeah. We definitely are. I think our coach staff is a little unique too, where 3 of our coaches, their dads play prominent roles in the NBA.
Right.
Coach Malone, who I mentioned earlier, his dad Brendan Malone is a lifer in the NBA. He's with the Pistons. I believe he spent some time with Seattle, with the Knicks. So he's been around. Coach Malone grew up in this environment. Wes Unseld. I'm sure you guys know his dad, Wes Unseld Jr., is one of the greatest basketball players to play for the Bullets/Wizards. So every time we play them, we go there, we see his dad's jersey, up in the rafters. And then the last one, David Adelman, his dad, Rick Adelman was with the Trailblazers, with those great teams with Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter. And then he had great teams in Sacramento with Chris Webber and Mike Bibby. And so, we got those guys to draw from that experience. But then we have, a guy like Jordi Fernandez who comes from Spain, who brings, the international touch. We have Ryan Bowen, who, played in the league, who can give us, his perspective from a players. Then we have another player development coach, Ogi Stojakovic, who came from Serbia. And, Serbia, I have so much respect for basketball in Serbia, being such a small country, and you just see how successful they've been, throughout the Olympics. They're always there, competing either for a gold or, a silver or the bronze. And then we have Stephen Graham, another guy who played in the NBA, who gives us that perspective. So like you mentioned, man, we just, we got a lot of guys that, come from different walks of life, and everyone adds something to this coaching staff.
Well, that kind of segues us right to your path.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little bit of your journey. Me and Searle know it some, but kind of give us your journey and go back. You were a very good player, obviously, from Georgia. That's why we know you. But go ahead and give us all the stuff here. Give us
from Cochran, Georgia, and Middle Georgia College to the NBA bubble in Orlando.
I mean, even before that, he was a Sandy Creek guy.
Yeah, man. It started at Sandy Creek. For people who are watching this podcast, I've known Corey since I think the high school or college. I played with Carlton Griffin. Me and Carlton to this day still really good friends. And I met Corey through Carlton, and through the years we played a lot of pickup basketball together. And yep. I remember playing in Clayton State Pro-Am. It's where I got to know Kevin Young, who's a good friend of ours, another mutual friend. But for me, my journey, I played high school ball at Sandy Creek. We had a really good team. Won a lot of games, and it was fun. Because of the success that we had as a team, I was able to get a scholarship over to Georgia State. I was the first guy to sign with Lefty Drizel, and that was always really cool to play under a legendary coach like that. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame, but if he's not, he should be. I know he was trying for years.
He is.
To get him in there. He is in there now.
just inducted about a year ago. We had his grandsons on the podcast, one of the earlier
Perfect.
episodes, and they were all talking about that enshrinement there.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves it. I mean, you guys know his history, everything that he's accomplished at all the schools that he's been. So playing on the lefty was great. And then for me, as most people being 18, 19 years old, just immature at the time, went to Georgia State and I wasn't playing, as much as I would like to play. Didn't really handle the situation as best I should. So I decided to transfer. And when I transferred, it was so late in the year. There wasn't, very many openings in schools that would recruit me out of high school. And if there was openings, they weren't holding it or willing to give it to a 5'10" guard that didn't really put up any numbers at Georgia State. So I ended up going to transferring to Middle Georgia College. So I did 1 year of JUCO ball there, and it was tough. It was tough mentally for me because I felt like I failed going from Division I. I didn't do what I wanted to do. So that year was tough, but we had a really good team down there as well. Really good group of guys. Still close to a lot of those guys on that team as well. From there, I ended up transferring to Eckerd College, which is in St. Petersburg, Florida. And again, I guess it goes through my whole basketball life. I've been blessed to be a part of some really good teams. And down there, we were in Division II, and we were a really good team, especially my senior year. We ended up going to the tournament. Ended up losing in the first round, but it was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it down there. After I finished at Eckerd, like most kids who play college basketball, you want to play professional, whether it be on any level. I didn't care. So I moved back to Atlanta, and right before I moved back to Atlanta, I got to know a guy that played at Eckerd who was working in Atlanta named Greg Pike. Greg worked for Turner Sports. And when I got back to Atlanta, I was working out, trying to be professional, but I also needed to find a way to make some money. Greg is the one who got me into Turner Sports. So during the day, I would work out, and then during the evenings, I would go over to Turner Sports. I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a thing called CNNSI over there. So I used to work there, and I used to cut highlights. So like if you watch SportsCenter now, you see highlights, that are going on. That's what I was doing. I was cutting highlights of various sports and stuff like that.
What years were you there cutting those highlights at
I believe it was like, I want to say '02 to like whenever I left the Hawks, so probably like 2014, I believe. But don't hold me to those dates. But I was there.
Doing that double gig where you got the night shift, the day shift, and the workout shift, and no time to sleep.
No, but I mean, when you're young like that, that's what you do. Like, I would go to the gym and work out, and then, I would shower at the gym, then I'd get in my car, maybe take a nap for 30, 45 minutes in the parking garage, in the CNN parking garage. And then I would go into work at like 6 o'clock and then get off at like 2 a.m. And then I would go do the same thing the next day. And it was fun. You know how that's what you do. You guys, know how it is when you're young. You're just hustling, and you're trying to figure it out. So luckily, while I was there, I had a good friend of mine that I played basketball at Eckerd College with, and we always told each other, if one of us got on, we would help the other one get on to that team. So he got onto a team in Germany. He was able to get me on there as well. So I went over to Germany, and my pro career lasted exactly, I would say, 3 weeks. I went over there. It wasn't a high level division. I believe it was like Division IV. So I went over there. I got homesick. You hear about the big EuroLeague teams. This wasn't a big EuroLeague team. I wasn't making a ton of money. I wasn't staying in a plush apartment and all this type of stuff. So I ended up coming back. Came back, and again, like most young kids, I'm trying to figure what I'm gonna do. I started working at Turner Sports again. As I was working at Turner Sports, I got to know this guy at the gym, and the guy at the gym was like, what are your plans? What do you plan on doing? I was like, man, honestly, man, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. He was like, well, I have a friend with the Atlanta Hawks. Here's his contact information. Why don't you, give him a call, just talk to him, and, see what happens. Ended up reaching out to him. He was, a nice guy. had me in for a meeting. Him and I talked, and come to find out, he was the head of ticket sales there with the Hawks. So he offered me a job as a ticket sales rep. So I started selling full season, half season, Chick-fil-A family nights. I'm in the cubicle every day. I'm making hundreds of cold calls to people. So if you bought one ticket to a game, I'm calling you, trying to upsell you to a family night, to a 10 game package, anything. So while we do that, I come to find out they would have pickup games on the Atlanta Hawks practice court. Like you guys know, the CNN Center is connected to what it was Phillips Arena. Now it's State Farm, but it was Phillips Arena, and their practice facility, is right inside the arena. Obviously now it's different. They have, a big time facility, but during that time, that's how it was. So whenever the team was on the road, Luke Steele, who was the video coordinator at the time, he would organize, pickup basketball game. So I went down there and I started playing. I got to know Luke. Luke told me what he did. He said he was the video coordinator. I'm like, video coordinator? What's a video coordinator? Like, never heard of that before in my life. So I emailed Luke and I was like, look, during the games, I have responsibilities. I need to talk to clients. I need to try to sell tickets and stuff. But if I have any downtime, do you mind if I just come and shadow you just to, see what you're doing and stuff? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I had the opportunity one game. I can't remember who we were playing, but I knocked on the door. Luke opened it. I went in there, and it felt like thousands of VHS. For you kids out there, VHS is, the tapes. I don't know if people know that anymore, but it was like it felt like thousands of VHS recorders, different satellites, like just all kind of technology. I didn't know what all this stuff was. So I'm watching the game, and then as I'm watching the game, I'm seeing Luke on his computer, and he's hitting all these different buttons, and I'm asking him what does he do, and luckily Luke didn't get tired of me asking him questions while he's trying to log an actual game. So I actually watched, and me and Luke continued to develop a relationship. I got to learn, more and more, because anytime I had some downtime, I would go in there and just continue to watch and try to, learn. So as that was going on, whenever I'm in the office, the basketball operations was right next to the sales department. So at the time, Billy Knight was the GM, Chris Grant was the assistant GM. I introduced myself to him and eventually told them that, I would love to be a part of basketball operations. So by that point now, I'm just eager. Like I want to get in there. So every day I'm talking to those guys. I'm talking to the secretary. I'm talking to the scouts. I don't care who it is. Somebody's going to go talk to me that day. So, fast forward, some months, NBA staffs were, expanding. And to this day, they're still expanding. I mean, we got more staffs are getting bigger and bigger. But anyhow, they were looking for an assistant video coordinator. So I jumped on it, told them that, I wanted to do it. And, I think I would help out the team. And, I was blessed where, maybe they just got tired of me talking to them. They offered me the job, and, I got the assistant video coordinator position, and been rising up ever since.
One thing that, and we'll keep going as you move up the ranks from assistant video coordinator, but Corey always likes to talk about 6 degrees of separation and the connections that we have with our guests on the podcast. And I'll give you these 2 or 3 quick plugs. Luke Steele, I recruited him to Emory University when I was an assistant over there, and coached him for a couple of years at JV. And I think we played at Middle Georgia, among other fun places.
That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and the other tie-in is the year after you left, or maybe 2 years after, I worked for Lefty as a basketball ops over there at Georgia State. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable, man. The basketball world is so small, man. Basketball world is so small. That's unbelievable.
I tell you what, hearing your story is real neat. Couple of things I'd say before you finish it is a lot of some of the stuff you did prepared you for what you were gonna do without even knowing it. You know what I mean? Like just hearing, like your sales job probably is the reason you got that job, because you knew how to work those guys a little bit. You knew to say no for an answer. You knew to hang around. You knew to do the
absolutely. But
work to get them.
Corey, I will say this: I was terrible at sales. I hate, oh man, I hated it, man. Like going to a cubicle and, you know, dressing up in a suit every day, man. It just wasn't me, man. It wasn't me. And the last thing that I honestly thought I'd be doing is coaching. Like coaching did not, you know, I did not think of coaching. I just didn't.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I did not think of it. I kind of just fell into the situation. You know, even going, you know, once I started on the basketball side, like funny story, man. Like my first day, you know, being with the team, Mike Woodson's the coach, and first time we had a meeting, we're watching film and everything, and you know, coming from where I come from, I thought I had a pretty good basketball background. I thought, you know, I knew a good amount. Man, we went into that meeting and the terminology that was used and all the different ways to defend a pick and roll and, you know, how they want to, you know, guard isolations in terms of, like, if Kobe gets here, let's tilt, or my mind was just racing. Like I did not know any of this type of stuff. So it was like my first few years was, you know, just eye-opening, and I learned so much, not only about the NBA, but just about basketball and how in depth, you know, it actually goes. You know, I know a lot of people like my sister, they think we just roll the ball out there and we just play, but no, there's a lot of game planning, there's a lot of film watching, there's a lot of talk that goes into every game that we play. As you guys know, like it's like, you know, coaching is hard. coaching is hard, man.
Hey, Corey, we may need to have Coach Beckett back on the podcast, maybe with Luke Steele, to teach our listeners and viewers about NBA terminology, some of all of those list of terms and what it means and how you apply it. That would, I think our coaches out there would love to hear some of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. If you have Luke on, I'll definitely come on. Luke's my guy. But yeah, I would love to come on. Cause you know, like it's even, you know, when I come to Atlanta, anytime I get the chance, I always work with, you know, either, you know, guys that might play overseas or high school kids, because I always feel like if I knew a lot of this stuff when I was younger, my game, you know, who knows where my game could have went. And I feel like you guys probably feel the same way. You know, you got so much knowledge now, and if you just would have known a lot of the stuff when you were playing, I mean, your game probably would have been that much better.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think of, you know, when you went to, I never even knew junior college existed until I started coaching. Of course, now I've been in it 15 years of junior college coaching and recruited it, you know, my whole life when I wasn't in it. So I feel like I know it now, 22 years worth of doing it, but I didn't know it when I played or as a player. I mean, that would have been an unbelievable route.
No,
your development, you don't even know that stuff when you're in high school, you know.
No, 100%. Corey, you guys know how it is. Both you guys is, you know, when you're young, and, you know, I look back when I was in high school, like my whole mindset was, I want to play D1. I want to play D1. I want to play D1 because you want to play in the NBA and you feel like that's the only way you're going to get to the NBA. And I always remember going to camps and there would be college coaches there and they'll be like, man, if you can play, it don't matter where you go, they're going to find you. And that is the most true statement that I could tell any young player, man. Like, you know, so many guys go to the wrong program because, you know, it's a big name or it's a bigger name than maybe some other school. When it's like, man, if you can play, they're going to find you. Like we got a guy on our team, Torrey Craig, South Carolina, Spartanburg or something like that.
USC Upstate.
Yeah, UC Upstate. And then he went and played over in New Zealand. And then he finally made it to the NBA at 28 years old. Like that's you know, what I try to tell kids, man. It's if you can play, the NBA is going to find you. I promise you.
Awesome. Well, hey, finish us up. I know we're running out of time here. Give us, so you were assistant video coordinator and with the Hawks. What comes next?
Yeah, what was
so from there, you know, just like I mentioned, you know, I'm trying to just learn the game and still trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because as I was assistant video coordinator, I wasn't really traveling, you know, as much when I first started. So we had Billy Knight, as I mentioned earlier, was the GM, and then Rick's son came in there, him and Dave Pendergraft. So whenever the team would go on the road, you know, I didn't have, my workload wasn't as much. And at the time, still single, still living by myself. So I talked to those guys and said, look, you know, if, you know, you guys need me, I can go scout some of the local colleges for you guys. So they were like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So anytime the team was on the road, I get in my car, I would go to Clemson, I would go to Wofford, I would go to Winthrop, I would go to Georgia, I would go to Georgia Tech, I would go to Alabama, Huntsville. It don't matter if there was any type of prospect that I heard a name about, I was going to that school and I was scouting them. So at that time, I thought my route would be more going towards the front office side because I was enjoying scouting and just doing that part of basketball. Where I started getting interested in player development was, you know, when I first started, there wasn't, you know, trainers and all these outside people doing all this basketball stuff as it is right now. You know, it started picking up, you know, probably maybe, what would you guys say, last 5 or 6 years, it started like really booming. Anyhow, we had a guy that we had on our staff named Kenny Atkinson. He came towards the end of my time in Atlanta. Kenny, you know, went on to be the head coach of Brooklyn recently. And, you know, I'm sure he's going to get another job very soon somewhere else. But anyway, Kenny came in and just the way he worked with guys, seeing his attention to detail, seeing how he worked on the simplest things, but being around the guys every day, I saw them improve. And I don't know what it did. It kind of like, you know, a light bulb ahead. Like, this is what I want to do. So I started working with Kenny closely, just seeing how he prepared every day for these workouts, you know, seeing how he put together the workouts. You know, I stole a lot of, you know, my stuff from him. From there, I ended up not having my contract renewed when Coach Buttonholzer came in there. He decided to bring in his own staff. My contract was up, wasn't renewed. Didn't know what I was going to do next. Ended up going to the G League, coaching for the Philadelphia 87ers, which is where I reconnected with Kevin Young. He was the lead assistant there. And Kevin was big for my development as well, man. Kevin knows his stuff. Kevin's going to be a head coach in the NBA at some point. But, you know, I learned that particularly when it comes to offensive stuff, Kevin is really bright. So I got a chance to, you know, work with him and see how he sees the game and, you know, offensively seeing what he does help with my player development. I was fortunate enough to still stay in contact with Lester Connor, who was with Atlanta. Now he's with Denver. An opportunity came available there, and, you know, he was, you know, just throwing my name out to those guys saying, we need to bring him here, need to bring him here. I ended up getting to Denver, started out as an assistant PD. Funny story though, it's like, you know, we were struggling that first year I was there. And I just remember we were in a meeting and, you know, one of the coaches was like, man, if, you know, whoever you know around the league, you know, start calling them. I was like, man, I got so disappointed. Like, I just got here. So I thought I hit my dad. I was like, Dad, man, I might need to stay with you. I don't know how long, you know, I'm gonna be here in Denver. Coach Malone ended up coming in after the season. Didn't know Coach Malone at all. He just kept me on probably because, you know, Tim Conley, who was our president, and the players, you know, they spoke, you know, highly of me.
That's a good thing if you got the president and the players.
Yeah, absolutely. So he kept me on. During that year, I got to know him. We built a relationship. I guess he liked me a little bit because, you know, I advanced to the head of player development to again advance into the assistant coach title, and that's currently where I'm at now. And, you know, hopefully one day I am, you know, lucky enough to become a head coach in the NBA.
Man, that's awesome, man. You hear guys going from the video rooms, you know, to the head coaching position. You've done it, man. You keep moving up. Couple more steps to five, man. Couple more steps.
Hey, but you've earned it along the way, and that's what this whole story is about. Hearing how you do it. I'm going to key on two things, and you can validate it or not. But it seems like relationships are crucial. Those connections with both other coaches and the players, and then the hard work, the willingness to do just about anything, are two of the traits that have gotten you where you are.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think, you know, in any walk of life, hard work is like, that's a given. Like, if you want to get anything in life, man, you're gonna have to work. I don't care, you know, what occupation that you want to do. And then, you know, just to piggyback on that, I think, you know, a big thing for me is just your reputation. You know, me and you and Corey are talking right now, and we're just talking about all the different people that we know. And, you know, people will always, you know, go back and, you know, do you know JB? And they'll be like, yeah, I know JB from here. And, you know, I think your reputation goes a long way into how far you go in whatever business that you choose to do.
That's a great point. All right, we're gonna finish this thing up. I get about 3 quick hitters at you.
All right.
Sir will give about 3 or 4, and then we're out of here. But
All right,
the way we
cool.
always do it, we call it the lightning round. So I'm always a foodie, so I'm gonna ask you. You've been in Denver a pretty good while now. What's your favorite place to eat in Denver?
Man, as I've been in Denver, I've become a sushi fan. So I'm a big fan of this spot called Sushi Den. Me and my fiance, we probably go there. Well, obviously we can't go there now because of the pandemic, but we still order and I'll go pick it up. We'll probably do that maybe every 2 weeks. So if I was to pick a restaurant for you to try out, especially if you like sushi, I would say Sushi Den in Denver.
I like it. I like it. All right. So I'll stay food with 2 more real quick ones. When you were in Atlanta, now some of them may have closed down by now, but you were doing a lot around the CNN Center, like you said. What was the place you ate in the CNN Center? What was your go-to if you were going to grab some food in there?
Oh man, you know, from the South, Chick-fil-A. 100%.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Do you have Chick-fil-A in the bubble? Is there any Chick-fil-A in the bubble?
Unfortunately, there is no Chick-fil-A in the bubble.
Wow.
There's no Chick-fil-A in the bubble.
You're getting some nuggets and sweet tea right when you leave.
Yo, you gotta have that. Sweet tea, lemonade sometimes too. I'll switch it up to lemonade sometimes too.
All right. I love it. All right. Now here's my last one. I always ask this one when we have guys on. I like knowing with all the traveling and stuff you've done, best gym or crowd that you played in, and then worst gym, because I know we've all been in some bad gyms in our day.
Man, I can't complain about the NBA. Like we're always in incredible gyms, man. Like,
go back to some of your old days, Eckerd and Georgia places. Some bad ones there.
Man, I can't remember the gyms, some of them, but some of the worst gyms has to be when I was at Middle Georgia. Some of the gyms we played there, man, they're in the middle of nowhere. It was so long ago, I can't remember what schools they were. Well, man, we played in some bad gyms, man. We played in some really bad gyms, but yeah, I can't give you the name to one particular one, but best gyms, shoot, in the NBA is going to any of these big college gyms. These college gyms got better practice facilities than we got. Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Miami, like they got some unbelievable gyms. So if I would say the best gyms, I would say any of these big time college programs. Their gyms are unbelievable.
How about that? Well, speaking of gyms, describe the setup behind the scenes in the bubble right now with those 2 courts that we see on TV, that the TV production is outstanding with the virtual fans and the sounds and all the rest. But is there a big curtain? Is it the Wizard of Oz, quite literally, or what's the setup for the gym you're in now?
The gym is like, you know, first when you come in from like the locker rooms, the whole setup is how I would assume a concert is, where the performer comes out, there's drapes, it's real dark. So when you come out, I mean, the setup is great. I mean, the court is there, it's really lit up, it's dark around the court, similar to how it would be in a Madison Square Garden or a Staples Center. What the fans don't see on the other side is where the family and the media that's there and whoever's broadcasting the game, they're over there. So there's maybe 100, 150 people on that side. And then they pump in the crowd noise. Like, you know, for example, when AD, you know, hit that shot on TV, it looks like, you know, there's so much excitement, but it's kind of still quiet. It's awkward. Like there's no fans like jumping, like the Lakers family they're jumping, but there's only like maybe 20 or so people, you know, for them that's there. So it's like, it's just really, it's really quiet. So it's a lot different from how a typical basketball and especially a playoff atmosphere would be. So that would be the main thing that I would say that, you know, people who watch the game don't see. It's just, you know, it's quiet. It's quiet. You hear everything. You hear all the play calls. You hear all the trash talk. You hear everything, which is kind of cool too.
All right. Hey, moving on. What is what's in your ear and on your lap here. What are you listening to as far as a podcast? Is there a book that you're reading, and what show are you have on Netflix or Prime or somewhere else? What do you keep yourself entertained with?
No, not a big TV guy, but in terms of podcasts, like I'm always listening to the podcast. My fiance and I, when I was home, we always, would go to church on Sunday. So she's always sending me, podcasts from church. She particularly likes Pastor Mike, who's out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm always getting, his sermons. For basketball, I'm listening to everybody from the ESPN guys, whether it be Zach Lowe. I think he does a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Windhorst, he does a good job with his podcast. I have a couple of coaches overseas that always send me stuff from different coaches over there that, is talking about, different things in basketball, whether it be offense, defense, player development, side out of bounds plays. So I'm listening to everything. If you guys got something you think is worthwhile for me to listen, email it, and I'll definitely listen, because especially when I do my walk around the trail, that's what I'm listening to is a podcast.
You may be listening to it already, but JJ Redick and the old man in the three right now.
JJ's really good.
It is,
JJ is really
so good, and it's the insightfulness that you're bringing also, and the knowledge of the team.
I like Knuckleheads.
Yeah, Knuckleheads is good. Knuckleheads is really with Quentin Richardson and Darius Smiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really good. Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, they're also really good. They've had some really good guests on there.
Right.
So yeah, I'm listening to all the podcasts. Like I said, I got a lot of time while I'm walking and running. So if you guys got something, please send it my way.
Hey, you got to listen to this podcast. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Oh, I'm on it now. I got to go back and listen to the other podcast now.
Yeah,
Kevin Young was one of the earlier guests, so you can check in there.
No, I actually listened to Kevin's one.
Oh, did you?
Because I saw on Twitter that you guys were having him there, and I actually checked it out.
Awesome.
I always anything with Kevin, I'm checking out.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Good to know. Hey, give us a few quick words on players. Jokic.
High basketball IQ, highly skilled, one of the best in the game right now.
Murray.
Coming into his own, growing up, the sky's the limit.
There you go. Those are the two big names, obviously, but anybody else that you want to mention, players that are on the team now that you've worked with in the past?
What about IT? Wasn't that one of your guys?
IT was one of my guys, really good dude. Unfortunate, that year that he was with us here in Denver, he was still rehabbing from his injury, and he was never able to get back to where, he felt like he was 100% healthy. But IT, man, just worker. I mean, if I was describing him in one word, just worker, and man, just strong commitment, heart, all those type of things. I mean, you see the size of this guy, and then you see the stuff that he's done in this league, and being the last pick in the second round, like it's a Disney movie. I'm in Disney, and his story is actually like a Disney movie.
That's awesome.
But, just, the same thing I said before, man, it's just, the guys that make it in this league, they're the guys that just work hard and they have the right attitude. One of my favorite players that I have, and, I always bring him up, is Mario West, that played at Georgia Tech. Mario, man, walked on to Georgia Tech, ended up getting significant playing time to becoming a starter, to becoming a captain. Didn't get drafted, nothing like that. When I was with Atlanta, we brought him into Summer League, and he was the last player that we picked for Summer League. Works extremely hard, plays. He's the hardest playing guy I've ever been around. He plays so hard. We started having workouts in September, right before training camp. Mario was just coming into pickup ball, and just his energy and the way he played. So we were like, you know what, let's just bring him to training camp, because he's a guy that just, he's going to push our guys. He works hard. We had the first cut, second cut. He made it. Coming to the final cut, I was like, there's no way he's going to make the team. Mario West made the team. Ended up playing, a couple years in Atlanta, then a couple other stops at other places. But, Mario is just, he's a guy that I always tell our young guys about, just because the way he made it it's unbelievable, his story.
That's a great story to finish up on, JB. We always come to a close here with an opportunity for our guests to close it out. Some final thoughts from you, some shout outs to fiance and little one at home, anything that you'd like to share or say to your people out there.
No, just let everybody know, my family and friends, I miss them, especially my fiance Heather. Definitely miss her. Miss my son Cam, just turned 9 months, so I'm looking forward to seeing him. And I'm just thankful you guys had me on the podcast, and ready to see Corey move up. We just talked about other jobs, so he has a great job down there, but time for him to move up, and those other schools need to give him an opportunity.
Appreciate the love.
Nice little plug there. And we'll plug our social media also. Make sure that you follow along Off the Beaten Path podcast on Instagram and on Twitter also. A little interaction there with us, Off Beaten Path with the _. This has been Off the Beaten Path with JB, John Beckett, Denver Nuggets assistant coach. Thank you, sir. And Corey, close us out.
Hey, we're a show for those who want to coach, those who used to coach, those who are coaches, and those who follow coaches, those who hire and fire them, and really just for anybody who wants to get involved with coaching. We're out. Appreciate you, John.
No problem, fellas. I appreciate it, man. If you need anything else, please let me know.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, enjoyed it.
Bye.